let's take a look at adding multiple materials to objects. So let's say on these thrusters back here, we want to come in and add a material to the thruster overall. So we can do that. We can create a new material. Let's create a blend, and let's select both of those, right click, say assign, and then we can kind of darken that up a little bit. Maybe not quite so dark. Maybe broaden the spec a little and create the look for kind of the metal of that. But let's say that on the inside of our thruster, we want to have sort of a glow, kind of like what we did with the incandescence. Well, we could play with the incandescence, but there's also a different kind of material we can add called a surface shader that doesn't have any shading on it. So if we come in here and change the out color and we change it to like a red, you can see there's no shading. It's just going to show that red color. And so we can come in here, and all we have to do to assign a different material to parts of our object is to select the faces that we want to add it to. And then we'll right click and say assign to selection. So just like what we did with the object, but this time we're doing it with a face selection. And that allows you to add a separate material to just parts of an object. Okay. And so you can kind of come in and add your materials that way. It's also, you can also come in and kind of find out what material is applied to what. So for instance, if I select this blend 2, I can right click on it and say select objects with material, and that'll show me that it's actually applied to these faces. If I do the same thing on the surface shader, it'll show me that it's applied to those faces if I'm not able to see that. So that's kind of how you can do that. It's very simple. It's just a matter of applying it to the individual polygons. So at this point, let's come in and start to just populate this geometry with some materials. So I'm going to create another blend, and let's call this just gray metal. I'm going to give it a little bit of a tint. So let's give it just a little bit of a sort of greenish tint to it. And let's also change the specularity a little bit. So maybe something like that. Now let's start to apply it to some of this geometry. So I'm going to apply it to the sort of joints here. Okay. And I've got this parented, so that's why it's applying it to everything below that elbow. You can select the faces if you want, or you can then go back and select the individual objects and apply a new material later. Let's do the same thing down here. And then here as well. So something like that. And I think it's a little bit too bright at the moment. So you can always modify this, kind of bring it down a little, maybe take some of that green back out. Just want kind of a basic metallic kind of material. There we go, something like that. So once we've got some of these materials assigned, we can then start to, again, kind of modify how that color is added across the surface. So in the next lesson, let's take a look at how we can use procedural texture to add a little bit of noise into the specularity. Let's do that next.